Villains. Any film will not be complete without the threat of a villain just out for world dominance. I mean, where would Batman be without the Joker? Where would Clarice be without Hannibal? And let's just face it, villains have the best lines in any movie. In this episode, I'm gonna talk about 4 of my favorite villains and why they are so iconic. Well, let's talk about it. Hey guys, Chris Jarvis here. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. So if you've seen a lot of my episodes, you know that villains are my favorite. Now, I don't know what that says about my personality, but I think villains are just like automatically in the DNA of men. What I mean by that is when we go into a bank, we think about, oh, how could we rob this bank? We're at the counter, we're like, okay, 3 cameras to the right, 2 to the left, there's a guard there. We're never going to do it, but it's in the back of our minds. And villains in movies, when having a really good script, really good dialogue, and of course, a great performer behind that dialogue, it changes the landscape of any film. And that's why I wanted to do this episode, because it's, you know, there's so many great villains in cinema history, but there were just 4 that just, I don't know, they stick in the back of my mind for some reason. And it's one of them, if not all of them, are because of their performance. So without further ado, let's just dive into this evil list, all right? So the first villain that we're gonna talk about is such an iconic villain, not just in his presence, but his voice. I'm talking about the one and only Darth Vader. I mean, he is the ultimate Sith Lord with just a really sad backstory. He's such a menacing presence. He's such a demanding presence that even the most iconic line, Luke, I'm your father, resonates with you to this day, no matter how many times you've seen the film. Now, the late, great James Earl Jones lended his voice to this most, like I said, iconic character to date. His voice is so demanding, it's so strong, it's so powerful that you don't need facial expressions from a character to understand how he feels. That's how amazing this man's voice was. But Darth Vader is just one of those characters that echoes through every single kind of timeline when it comes to villains because of his dominating presence, because of that terrifying voice. And it's such a demanding character that even the characters within the Star Wars universe, you know, fear him. It's like Voldemort. It's just hard to create this list without adding Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Vader is also kind of like Jaws. What I mean by that is, you know, when you hear the da-da, da-da, dun 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 dun, you know that the shark is near. Now think about Vader in the same way with his breathing. If you were just standing there having a conversation and you heard that, you know you're dead. The way that his character was written with a tragic backstory helps a lot as well, so you can understand where the character's coming from. And I think that's where great villains stem from, where you can relate to why they're doing what they're doing and how they got to that moment. He's a tragic figure with deep conflict, but he also has that redemption quality at the end of his story arc. So Vader, don't, you know, force choke me because you are on this list, my friend. Okay, next on this list is an actor who, when he was cast, people were so confused by this choice that they were questioning if the director was sane. We're talking about the late, great Heath Ledger and the Joker. The Joker is one of the most popular villains just in literature. I mean, you can't have Batman without the Joker. It's the yin and yang. Like, they feed off each other, they need each other. And the thing that makes his character so intriguing is his mystery surrounding about his background. Now, we've seen his background teased in certain things, and the way Christopher Nolan did it with him giving 3 different stories. Which one is true, we don't know. That mystery, that allure, that pulls you to this chaotic, just nothing really matters, anything goes type of character is really fun to watch. And Heath Ledger's unbelievable, unpredictable take on the character was the most captivating performance I've seen on film in a really long time. I mean, honestly, the way that he played that villain changed the way that villains are perceived. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Up to that point, you never really fell in line with the villain, never really understood the villain, right? It was just like, oh, there's a bad guy. Bam, you're gone, let's move on. Now, this character has been played by a couple of different actors in the past. You know, Cesar Romero, Jack Nicholson, but each of them has solidified their take on it. But one thing is for certain, all of them, well, maybe not Cesar Romero, they all have this quality of allure to them. It's like I said, it's that mystery. It's who hurt you? Who hurt you? But the Joker definitely needs to be on this list, and I would not want to catch him walking down an alleyway. Okay, the next villain is my favorite villain probably in film history. And I only say that because the film that he's in is on my top 5 lists of movies of all time. We're talking about Hannibal Lecter. Sophisticated, terrifying, and oddly charming. These are the words that describe Hannibal Lecter. Here's how powerful this character is, right? Anthony Hopkins, who played Hannibal Lecter, as you know, he only had 16 minutes total of screen time as Hannibal. That performance won him an Academy Award. He did it in such a way where it is charming, it is alluring, you trust him, you want to talk to him, but at the same time, you don't want him near you. There's a reason why this character was so intimidating, not just to the viewers, but also to Jodie Foster. During filming, she was terrified to actually approach him, that even years after the project wrapped, she was afraid to approach him. So there comes a point in an actor's career where they reach this level, this little like section where you could do nothing wrong. Heath got to that point with the Joker, and Anthony Hopkins definitely got there with Hannibal. He was just so in tune with who he was that his movements were really slow, right? He didn't really raise his voice unless he needed to. He was very proper. He was very just observant. He was very calm, and he just was. And that's what makes this villain so intimidating. Plus, like Vader, he has one of the most iconic lines is, "I ate his liver with fava beans and Chianti." Now, Hannibal, you definitely are on this list, and I don't want to have dinner with you. I just don't. And last but not least is a villain, gosh, who you just despise, but at the same time, you can't stop watching him. He's in one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino movies, and it's one of those films, like Tarantino is an amazing screenwriter. He's amazing at writing dialogue. And the dialogue that he wrote for this villain just amps it up even more. We're talking about Hans Landa in Inglourious Basterds. Now, Hans has this characteristic, much like Hannibal, where he could be charming, right? And he can get you to say things, he can get you to do things because he's so inviting and he's so kind of calm, and he'll ask you questions. You'll be like, "Oh, would you like some coffee? Would you like some milk?" And the subject matter within this film, it is rough, right? Just that opening scene, the opening dialogue, there is so much tension between him and the man whose cottage he is visiting. It's just, you can cut the tension with a knife, and it makes you antsy because you know that he's hiding them in the floorboards, right? And how he got the man to confess where they're hiding, it was just brilliant. It was like a chess move, the way that he was talking to him, the way he broke him down. And that's what makes him so alluring, because it's that charm that he has. Now, Christoph Waltz, who played him, is just a fantastic actor, just hands down. And the way that he played him, and there's like certain moments where he's really, woo, you know what I mean? He's so playful, but at the same time, you fear him so much. It's a character that builds tension. It's a character that invites tension, that invites these moments of sheer panic, and he wants you to feel that so you can get to your weakness, and he can exploit that and get what he needs. And it does boil down to how great the script was and how great Christoph played that character. Because if you hate a character after you see a movie, then everyone involved in that film did their job, and they did it very, very well. But he is one of my favorite villains in the villain bucket. It's an evil bucket. You don't want to touch it. And if you haven't had a chance to watch Inglourious Basterds, it came out a long time ago, watch it. Watch all these movies, right? They're all very good films. But guys, that's my list for my top villains. Who do you have on your list? And I want to do a part 2 to this video, but I want to do it with your suggestions. So give me five villains that you think are perfect. But until next time, guys, thank you for hanging out with me. Please like and subscribe. Go out, watch some good movies, and enjoy life.